So welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and here we are. We are gonna be getting into our first match, and we are gonna showcase TribuSigbin versus MrLasti. And hey, Mr. Malupeyt, I know that you know a lot about these certain players, especially on that red Zerg. So tell me that
Yeah.
life story real quick, as we are gonna be getting into this ZVZ.
Well, if you would look back on our tournaments, the IS Boy crew handled the Novice Cup.
Yes, sir.
So Mr. Lasti is one of the players from the Bronze to Silver division. Ang agreement namin ni Mizzle is whoever wins on that one would be coached by either me or any of the Rising Stars player. And luckily, a Zerg player won, Mr. Lasti from Cotabato.
Ooh.
Um, and I've been coaching him, and the progress is really fast. Especially he trains in the Korean server,
Oh,
and
hard mode, man. That's hard mode.
yeah, me and Saifem are actually mentoring him at the moment. I teach him the weird stuff, and Saifem teach him the technicalities of the game. And if with that combined, he is really transforming into a Cotabato young gun player. So really
Co-
excited for Mr. Lasti. Batang bata pa, man. 17 and
oh, damn.
nakakasabay siya sa mga haligi ng esports ng StarCraft dito sa Pilipinas, which is really nice.
Yeah, it's great.
So,
That's great. It really feels like it's a byproduct of the system, right? As we
uh,
are gonna be getting into our first game very soon. But before all of that, it really just goes to show that everyone here looking to, at the very least, try to progress, try to be as best as they can. And it does feel like here in the quarantine tournament number 5, it's a good way to culminate all throughout the month and all throughout every single time we want to play as a local community, right? And it's been pretty fun because not only do the likes of these people get to play when they can, but at the same time we see like Mizzle and Malupeyt over here being able to participate. Both of them actually moving on to round number 3. So congratulations to that one, good sir. But it really just goes to show. It really goes to show that here we are trying to be as welcoming as possible. But we are gonna be getting into a ZVZ, Vic. And
mm.
for you, what defines ZVZ?
Well, ZVZs are actually one of the most high octane kinds of matchup. It's either the game ends with Lings and Banes only, or transitions to the Roaches. And if it really reaches late games, we might see the Ravager, Lurker, Viper. But it's really all about the player who fails to adapt.
Yeah.
You want to be really fast. You want to control the pace. If you are in a ZVZ matchup. And as a Zerg player, it's one of the hardest matchups for me, because yun nga, mabilis, fast paced, you need to react, and you need to catch all the small details. You might be
Mhm.
run by, you might be you might be late in scouting some technological switches. So we'll see about that. This
Yeah,
is
we'll
an
see.
interesting ZVZ matchup.
I can't wait. And in the mirror matchup, guys, you can't complain about any imbalance because you're playing the same thing,
Oh,
unless you say that your own unit is imbalance. Like, hey,
uh,
guys, Zerglings lose to many roaches. Come on, that's so broken. Zerg OP, bro. Zerg OP. But you know what is gonna be in place for us is our first map. We are gonna be getting into Deathaura LE, and I love seeing this map. It's kind of on the small side. 3 bases can be easily taken, and at the same time, those acceleration zones make these mid-game fights in the middle of the map even better because sometimes you see a speed boost to save a few units. Sometimes you see some units be able to chase them
you
down
see some
and
units go
zigzag.
zoom, zoom.
Zoom, they go vroom vroom zoom zoom. And as we are going to be getting into our first game, it seems like we are ready to go. This is our first match here for Gold to Diamond in round number 2 of quarantine number 5. We are going to be highlighting 3 of them for today. This is of course a best of 3, and let's get it on, let's get it done, and let's get into the match. So hello, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are into our first ever round 2 game here in the quarantine tournament number 5. This time is a Zerg versus Zerg game. And hey, we got a little bit of surprise for you all because introducing first, here on the top left, it's your Blue Zerg Barag Totski. You like that? You guys like that? It's pretty snazzy, and big shoutouts to Mr.
Oh,
Mizzle for setting that one up. It's amazing, the production value here. But Barag Totski or TribuSigbin we'll just call him Totski for the time being because his name has been changing for quite a while. And he's on that blue Zerg, but his opponent this time on the southeast side of Deathaura LE, it is our red Zerg, MrLasti. So here we are, Vic. ZVZ, I got to show off the new transition. And you've been talking about it, but it's really all about seeing what kind of matchup will happen based on the mirror, right? If it's Zerglings versus Zerglings, Banelings versus Banelings, Roaches versus Roaches. And as a Zerg player, what's that point of reference that you usually take to figure out what to actually do into this game?
Well, we are actually seeing Baragtotski actually opening with a safe opening. It's an anti-cheese opening. 17 pool, 17 gas, and 17 hatchery. Your hatchery would be a little bit late, but it counters any kind of 12 pool or early aggression, because you would be having your links significantly earlier than going for the standard.
Yeah.
And MrLasti here opting to go for that standard play.
Hatch first there. Pool first versus hatch first, basically, guys. And it really just goes to show that here for Totski, he's going to be, at the very least, having these initial Zerglings. And instead of looking for the defense, he's going for the attack here, Vic. Going to be sending a few of these Lings in. Might be going for a little bit of the early aggression. And we'll see if he's going to be flagging it over. He's looking for that second hatchery, though, as soon as possible. These Zerglings, though, do need to pack a punch before the Queen comes out so he can get some drones for free.
Yeah. I'm actually seeing a lot of this kinds of play in Korea, because in Korea they are really aggressive when it comes to their two mirror matchups, and we'll see how Baragtotski can do some damage here. A few drones already falling down. MrLasti very good, not overreacting as of the moment.
Oh, the Queen, though, gonna get surrounded here, and the drones will be helping things out there, Vic. And MrLasti, as you've said, this guy has gotten a lot of coaching from you as well as Saipem. But for now, he needs to be taught the lesson to keep his Queen alive, because it will go down. Pool gonna get poked on away. MrLasti trying to survive, though, with his drones just chilling on out, getting as much minerals as possible. And for now, these drones are transitioning on in. It feels like these workers don't really care what's going on, because the Zerglings have come. MrLasti gonna defend. What do you think about that attack, that Queen pickoff, though? Pretty good there from Baragtotski.
Yeah. Well, it was pretty good coming in from our blue Zerg, but the thing is, the follow-up is a little bit wrong here. He should have opted to go for a Banelingness and additional pressure, as we could see here that MrLasti has already tried to do a counter-attack here. Banelingness already on the way. And onto the side of Baragtotski, no Banelingness to be seen as of the moment.
Worrying, because you force your opponent, right, to answer back with multiple Zerglings, and if you're not going to have your own Zergling count, then basically your opponent can overrun you. But as we say that, it seems like Baragtotski is going to go for the flood of Links. He's going for 14 right now. Good pick off, though, from MrLasti to catch out the Queen there as well. And Baragtotski going to be, at the very least, going for the chase, looking to go for the counter-attack here. But as you said, it feels like it's a Chekhov's gun there, Mr. Vic, because a Banelingness is ready to go, and we can see a big bomb, the big burst, make a difference very, very soon.
Well, good plays actually coming in for MrLasti here, actually opting to go for the third hatchery, but a little bit of mind games to being added here. It's not an unusual position for a third base, but we'll see if Baragtotski can break down this wall coming in. But the Baneling's already available onto the side of MrLasti. Good pullback coming in from Baragtotski, but we'll see what would be the follow-up here, since usually at ZVZ this is...
That's a poke. That's a poke right there. So Baragtotski looking to answer back with a few hits of his own. He does get rid of one Baneling for the price of one Zergling, but for now he's waiting these because it's going to be the Spine Crawler up and above. But I gotta say, MrLasti keeping that Queen alive, very impressive. Here we go again with the duel of the Links. The Flood, though, looking bigger here for MrLasti. And Baragtotski gonna get caught out there, but the Banelingness will go down, slowing things to a crawl here for MrLasti. But still, overall, he can just rebuild. And if we don't see Totski here build his own Banelingness, I really feel like he's gonna be a spot of trouble unless he goes Roaches by this point in time.
Yeah, but at this point, still no follow-up coming in onto the side of Baragtotski. But yeah, a Roach Warren follow-up. A little bit late too. But as I'm saying earlier, ito yung kumbaga parang nagiging stalemate na ayo sa CVZ eh. It's either you choose a tech better than your opponent or you keep on forcing things. But a little bit of misplays coming in onto the side of Baragtotski. But still, ginugulat niya tayo with his performance, actually going pressuring MrLasti
I like the aggression out of nowhere, but I got a question for you, Mr. Vic. You have been the mentor of MrLasti so far, and can you please give us a quick little journey of his? What rank did he start, and what rank is he in right now?
Well, he started, I think, Silver 3. And after nung first coaching namin, he ended up in Platinum agad in like 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
Then he had a struggle. Well, since it's Korea,
Of course.
he had the struggle climbing up Diamond. But yeah, I think he's still in Diamond right now, and he is actually a quick learner. And it's a good thing also that he asks a lot of questions.
Yeah, it's good. That's good.
Yeah,
It really feels like he's trying to learn as much as possible. I think the note also here, Vic, is when you are diamond in Korea, you can say you're masters in somewhere else, right? Because it's such a tough region. But for now, you know what else is gonna be tough? That wall of roaches in front of MrLasti a while ago. But where do the roaches go? They're gonna go for the attack, and this is an opportunity here for MrLasti to go onto Totski's mineral line, and it's natural taking some drone hits already. The queen has fallen on down. It's a good surround here for MrLasti so far. 11 drones milked at 12, a full mineral line going on down, and now it's double the worker count here for MrLasti. Baragtotski is basically in an all-in situation. He has to go for the push. He has to try and get the DPS on. This is a good number of roaches though, but MrLasti is answering back. He's using his natural wall by the point in time, and these roaches using the funnel at the very least. This baiting nest though will fall very soon unless we see MrLasti crawl on out, but he's playing it safe, playing it sound, and this is looking really good here for our Red Zerg.
Yeah, good play something actually from MrLasti, forcing the all-in situation onto the side of our Blue Zerg, and also the +1 missile advantage going up in favor for MrLasti here. And I think this would just be cleaned up in a few seconds, and this might be game. Good plays coming in from our young player. What a massive differentials on both of these supplies of our players. We'll see on what would be the follow-up here. I think this is GG
There is no follow-up. 0 workers, 0 APM. This is a guy who puts up his hands from the keyboard. We do see some drones, though, get popped. But with such a big worker lead right now, I really feel like for Baragtotski, he's not going to have a good fighting chance against MrLasti and his +1 army. We also see he is on Lair Tech right now. He's not going for that movement speed because he doesn't need it anymore. He's just going to go for the push, and this is looking too overwhelming by this point in time. So overall, it's a lot more refined play here from MrLasti, because we can kind of call this game unless something funky suddenly happens, right? It really feels that he was just a lot more refined on his decisions, and as you said, it was more concrete from him compared to Baragtotski, who just looks to react, who looks to try to do something. And there you go, GG is called victory for MrLasti, and that's what you can say is a clean game there, ladies and gentlemen. That is the difference of a player who has been working really hard to learn the ropes of this game.
Talent beats hard work. Ay, hindi, baliktad.
Ganun ba yan?
But anyway, good plays coming in from MrLasti, actually surprising me. Ito kasi yun, si Saifem, tinuturuan siya ng mga, pro stuff in deep ZVZ. Tapos ako, my playstyle, I really like to keep it hyper-aggressive. So, he kind of formulates on how to counter those kind of aggressive plays. So, huge shoutouts for MrLasti for actually learning from our practice sessions.
Congratulations there to MrLasti. What do you say though? That Baneling Nest really making a big difference there, and it really felt like as soon as the Baneling Nest popped, it was like, no, don't touch me. It's like a restraining order, and you can't even make it through. Couldn't really force things out, and it was just so difficult there for our Blue Zerg, as Baragtotski could not even make it to try and harass. Such a good save also from MrLasti, keeping that queen alive. And even though it was a good initial attack there from Baragtotski, it still wasn't enough per se. After, getting that queen, he just didn't do anything past that. So it really goes to show, if you let go of the pedal in a ZVZ, it's just so easy to get back for your opponents.
Yeah. And also, yung Blue Zerg natin, he did not opt to go for that wall off.
Yeah.
So we saw how that Ling run by decimated the mineral line of his. So we'll see if he learns from that mistake. We are headed on to our game number 2.
Yes, sir. And our second map is gonna be, of course, a classic Everdream LE, something any aggressive Zerg would like to play. But something to also take note, though, is you say decimation, but it's not decimation anymore, because there are no survivors there. It was a flat 0, bud, and it's a complete annihilation there from MrLasti against that mineral line. But as we are going to be getting into Everdream, do you think we're going to get the same kind of game, the same kind of aggression, especially these maps are kind of similar in a way?
Well, the way I see it is MrLasti really is by the book player. He likes to react. He likes to take the advantage pag nagkaamali yung kalaban niya.
Mm-hmm.
And I think MrLasti would still play the same standard macro. And for Baragtotsky, we'll see if he'll surprise us with something new for
Yeah,
this
and
match.
anyway, guys, let's get into the game. And here we are with MrLasti with a 1-map advantage. But welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to our second map. And oh, MrLasti, 300 ping, but I got this. What utter confidence on this guy. But we are here, we are now, and we are going to be getting into Everdream LE yet again. And introducing first, he is down by 1, and he just needs to make these better decisions. It is our red Zerg this time, Baragtotsky. And his opponent, here on the top right, he is 1 map ahead, and he's showing the classroom has really brought out a prestigious student from the SCPH Academy, the winner, I believe, of the Novice Cup, and he has been learning the ropes and getting better and better. It's our blue Zerg looking for the sweep, MrLasti, showing up on to Everdream LE. So here we are, Vic. Second map, no problem, buddy. I just want to ask you real quick that, well, here we go again. Gonna be a ZVZ. Might be the same old thing. Pool first, though. No, it's actually hatchery first here for MrLasti. In the meantime, we will see Baragtotsky go for the pool first instead. And since we're seeing a similar opening for both sides, what do you think needs to be changed for both players here?
Well, on the first instance, I think when Baragtotsky actually sniped down that queen, I think the play to go from that standpoint is actually go for a floodling with a baneling nest. Habang nagpo-pressure ka, natatapos yung baneling nest mo, tapos pag tapos na yung baneling nest mo, I think you kind of win at that point as much as possible. Kasi syempre, you want to make your opponent react to what you're doing and also force some mistakes. So I think with that kind of pressure,
I really feel that if you do keep that pressure on, it just becomes overwhelming, especially when you get a big pick off. Because a while ago there on Deathaura, he got rid of the queen, which is instrumental to slow down your opponent and prevent any kind of range damage in a way. When you go for the banelings, then they are just so free to get on through to your opponent's Zergling floods as well as the mineral lines themselves. So unfortunately there for Baragtotsky, or as we know him, TribuSigbin. This time though, he's harassing that natural. He's looking for a different kind of approach here, but it's going to be the same kind of composition. Poking a few drones here and there. Queen will be out and about. Will we see the same kind of situation here? MrLasti going to get surrounded, and it seems like there we go with the pickoff, and there we go with the cleanup. But in behind all of this, we are getting metabolic boost. We are gonna get the Zerglings yet again. Spinecrawler though forced out. So I think here for Baragtotsky, it's a lot better into this one compared to our previous map.
well, yeah, this is the advantage of going for pull first. Your metabolic boost finishes in significantly earlier than your opponent, but it's what really is kumbaga na-weirdoan ako kasi hindi talaga siya nagbe-baneling nest agad. Pinul niya pa lahat ng drone niya sa gas. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's interesting. So he does want to go for the focus onto speedlings, basically. And the thing to note though is his speedling upgrade is already done, but it doesn't matter because MrLasti will have his as well. And for the time being, with the Spinecrawler looking to uproot and go back to the natural, it's gonna be easy here for him to defend. MrLasti fending this one off, and you can really see that's more of a hit your head onto a very thick wall kind of approach. But we will see these Zerglings now go for the duel, trying to go for the surround onto the queen, but with the extra DPS for both the queen and the Spinecrawler, it's such an easy cleanup. And MrLasti now feeling the aggression, going for the push, and with the baneling nest ready to go, he's ready to pop this weasel as soon as possible.
Also, good plays coming in from MrLasti. The building placement, it minimizes the area on how you can surround the building. So good plays actually from MrLasti, small details, but actually saving him from this aggression once again. And now it's time for MrLasti to counter once again the third base. We'll see if it would be cancelled.
Yeah, this is very greedy here from Baragdotsky. He doesn't really have the best kind of way to defend this. And MrLasti can't turn it around with an immediate Baneling. So you can see that confidence out of nowhere. Going over to the main base, though, might be able to sneak one Zergling away to go for its Baneling instead. For now, though, just getting all the scouting information, sees his opponent is playing 3 hatch for the time being. Looking for Lair Tech as well as the Roach Warren. So it seems like here for Baragdotsky, he kind of wants to play it old school. He wants to go for initial Zerglings to slow down his opponent. Then move over to Roaches instead and keep on with that. But for the time being, with MrLasti poking and prodding that third base, Baragdotsky is forced to answer back with a number of Zerglings, and both sides now going for the third base. We are going to get a lair very, very soon, but the Roach Warren is already up online here for MrLasti, and with all the tech that he has, he's ready to go for any good fight for the next 3 minutes.
Once again, +1 missile attack already on the way onto the side of MrLasti. Or already halfway done, so if this goes on to another Roach versus Roach situation, I think MrLasti would be leading once again, especially that the +1 upgrades are already near its completion.
Yeah, it will be interesting though if we are going to be able to get into Spire Tech as soon as possible, because 3 bases should be up and running. Really depends on how this attack is going to unfold, and seems like the Baneling able to infiltrate there onto the natural, gets rid of 4 drones yet again, and this is another indicator of the beginning of the end here for Baragdotsky. Unless he does something, he's down by 14 workers. Sure, he's harassing this third hatchery, but it doesn't matter because as the Baneling gets to pop on, it's still a good lead here for MrLasti so far. Hatchery right now gonna get hampered. We see a drone cycle though here for Baragdotsky. And 32 army actually here for Barag. He is just getting as big as he can. +1 though coming online very, very soon. Here for the side of MrLasti though, playing defensive, playing the econ instead. And seems like he's gonna be looking to play a base behind, but with a tech advantage instead.
Well, Baragdotsky still not opting to go for that wall off. So another good significant advantage here for MrLasti is that it would be easier to do a run by once the Roach army moves across the map. Especially that Roaches has a very slow movement speed, especially without the
Constitution.
Without the Roach speed upgrade.
Yes, sir.
So we'll see here.
You know, it's pretty funny. Like, all the Zerg speed upgrades are all fancy names, but they all just do the same thing. Go faster off creep. Roll. Go faster in general. And that's pretty much it. How many speed upgrades do you have for Zerg? You have Zerglings, you have Banelings, you have Roaches, you have Hydras, and you have Ultras, right?
And Overlord.
Overlord, so 6! 6 speed upgrades for one faction. Come on, guys. Do we really need that speed? Yes, we do. Because, you know, for a Zerg player, positioning is key. And for now, the key here for Baragdotski's success is just to pick off these queens as much as possible. Prevent that creep spread, prevent those spawn larvae. But the Banelings are going to say no to the sheer numbers. And really, that's just the big difference right now. If we see Baragdotsky bring in a big Zergling army, MrLasti is going to say, hey, I got to just bring a Baneling onto the board again. This time, though, third hatchery. Will he actually stick it yet again? MrLasti right now trying to keep it alive. But Baragdotsky is going to be bringing in those Roaches. Question is, though, should he actually go for the cancel? The Roaches are going to be there, and this is going to be a good card game so far for MrLasti. Reinforcements are not there for Baragdotsky, and this third base this time gonna get saved. It's time to go for the economy. It's time to see if MrLasti can hold this, because a huge number of army units are coming his way again.
Baragdotsky with that significant army advantage, but MrLasti actually getting that significant advantage earlier on with that massive concave. The thing is, even though that you have a huge army advantage, one of the key points when it comes to Roach versus Roach battles is your positioning.
Yep.
Gusto mo naka-concave siya, gusto mo lahat umaatake.
Maximum DPS right there. Speaking of DPS right now, MrLasti is so very close to +2. And the thing to note is, they're almost even on the Roach count right now. It's 27 to 24. And if MrLasti having that quality units, he's just going to be able to give us a quality push so far. Third base now even protected by the Spine Crawlers. No two-prong attack though here for Baragdotsky. And seeing that he's on the offensive right now, I'd love to see him go for a run by onto the natural if possible. But seems like now it's gonna be the crescendo here, Vic. We're coming close to 2 Roach armies looking to go for the brawl, but MrLasti feeling very confident with his +2, and he will intercept any kind of attack. Concave though a little better here for the side of MrLasti. Baragdotsky cannot get maximum DPS because of the positioning here on Everdream. That natural choke helping out our blue Zerg, and with the +2, he is just getting the numbers in his favor. Keeping on with the acid though, seems like the numbers are in favor of Baragdotsky so far for the time being, but MrLasti can easily reinforce, and as I say that, it's gonna be the blue Zerg turning that sides. An advantage is on MrLasti. There we go. A potential run by doesn't pan out to anything. And MrLasti defending this third base with fruition.
Yeah, defending it properly. As a Zerg, you want your opponent to go for this little choke point here, dito sa pasukan. Because yun nga, yung positioning, the splitting of your army, the maximum DPS capabilities, you want to be really efficient in terms of positioning. What Barag Totsky should have done is actually going in for a surround here in the back and here onto this choke point here in the third base. But it is what it is. 121 over 105 supplied with 10 minutes into the game.
MrLasti is such a good spot because he's keeping his third base economy up, and with better roaches on +2, it's just ridiculous how much of an advantage he has. We only see Baragtotsky going for his +1 right now, and even though it's just gonna be a 4 roach drop, this is gonna be packing a punch onto any kind of third base. This queen is gonna die pretty quickly. Here we go with Zergs, they'll look to answer back. They're gonna go for the brawl. Overlord gonna save them for a rainy day, and while this is all happening, it is Baragtotsky forced to stick around in the middle of the map and look to try and figure something out on his offensive. But this is MrLasti's show. I really feel like the turning point was this third point defense, because with 3 base economy, he is going to be able to build roaches, and even add Ravagers into the mix if need be. But here we go again, Vic. The 2 roach armies looking to duel, but one looking to be kinda on a counterfeit corner. MrLasti is pristine with his +2 still good to go.
Yeah, significant upgrade once again. +1 armor already on the way, and +2 missile attack here onto the side of MrLasti. And also, the Hydralisk then are already available for his disposal. Also, those Hydralisks really pack a punch when it comes to this kinds of matchup. High DPS, and they really counter these roaches really well.
Yeah, and you need the Hydralisk then to build that Lurker Den, and even better against Roaches, that's for sure. They do extra damage onto armored units, and in a good concave, those Spines are going to be bringing in the blows. And speaking of the Spines, though, it's going to be high time here for MrLasti to go for the drop. Yet again, he's harassing that natural, trying to keep his lead up. And he's even going for the infestation pit here, Vic. So he can get that hive tech, he can get that +3, and show us a good time with the biggest range comp you can see on the ground.
Yeah, at this point, I think Baragtotsky is not expecting this kind of arsenal coming in from his opponent. He's really struggling a little bit in terms of his micro, but what I really want to see is more of these Overlord drops, but case roaches, mas maganda Baneling sana.
Yeah, I really want to see from MrLasti, though, what he's going to do with Tunneling Claws, because he doesn't have Burrow yet. So he's just getting the upgrade for the heck of it. I'd love to see him not waste that kind of resources for Ravagers instead. But speaking of the Ravagation here, it's going to be time for a Ravishing Blow from MrLasti. Baragtotsky trying to brawl onto the high ground, but he has to go for the split army. And it really just goes to show how much the quality of these units are differing from both sides. The +2 with the +1 armor versus the simple +1. And only now, Baragtotsky can decide, hey, I can go for the Spire and maybe turn the tides, but it's going to be a little too late because the Hydralisks are going to be available here for MrLasti. Still, though, the push is on. The crystals are popping, and I believe this might be a little bit of a pause right there that happened for them. Everything is good to go now, and Baragtotsky going to be looking to come on back, but MrLasti having such a big army, taking there the 4th base, and even hampering the 3rd here, Vic.
Good splits coming in onto the side of MrLasti, dealing a lot of damage and forcing Baragtotsky to go once again into this choke point here. And now a little bit of surround happening here. I think this might be Baragtotsky bowing down from this quarantine tournament. This fire would not make it on time. Also, no gas available onto the side of our Red Zerg here. 12 drones already falling down. And here comes the Wrecking Havoc coming in onto the side of MrLasti. Dakota Bato, Young Gun flexing his guns and dealing tons and tons of damage and eliminating Baragtotsky into our quarantine tournament. What a play.
GG, well played. And it really just goes to show MrLasti making the right decisions at the right times. It's ridiculous how much of an advantage he's been able to make because of him knowing his build order, because of him knowing exactly what to do. And in essence there are just really those times where he attacks properly. You see a Spire, but what happens at the same time? MrLasti shuts down the 4th base, shuts down the 3rd. You cannot keep up too much on a low gas state with only 2 base, and it really feels that those mutants could not even get up into the skies. MrLasti playing a lot more sublime than his opponents, and you can really see the difference right there between our 2 players. But it's a good learning experience here for Baragtotsky, but it goes to show, if you put in the effort, then you can make it work and do great in the quarantine tournament. Congratulations there to MrLasti, our first round 3 participant. He's gonna be moving on to round number 3, and it feels like he's done so much of a progression here, Vic, from the Novice Cup all the way to the quarantine right now. He's really going for the brawl against so many different people, and he's putting up a really good fight and dominating others as well.
Yeah. Actually, kumbaga nagpapakita yung bunga ng practice niya, Especially in Korea, uh, ibang-iba yung playstyle talaga when you play in America server and in the Korean server. And yeah, I guess, kumbaga doon rin ako nagnanakaw ng strats sa Korea server. And as Commissioner Mizzle says it, secret training daw pag doon kami nagla-ladder. So
That's
yeah,
true.
good plays coming in from MrLasti. And thank you for his opponent for participating. Sana maitapa pa namin.
Yeah,
You know,
it's a good one. It was a pretty good one, but it really just goes to show that's what happens when you're practicing with the best and really
yeah.
putting yourself to the test. So a quick 2-0 right there in our first matchup. And hey, it's good to see some Zergs though in the gold to diamond bracket, because as I was talking about the history of quarantine last time, it's really Zerg Fiesta and Masters, but here for GtD, it's more of the Protoss show as well as the Terran. So our Zerg players are having a resurgence. We'll see if they can make it to the semifinals this time, but it's going to be a long road ahead for MrLasti. He has gone 2-0. He is part of round number 3, and we will see him very soon into, of course, our next batch of potential replays. But that is that for this one, and it really just goes to show it's quality right there, beating out quantity, beating out haste, and you can really say that you can't rush perfection.
Yeah.
So there you go, guys. That is our first match for tonight, and we still got 2 more gold to diamonds here, so stay tuned. After that one, of course, we're going to be going into the meat of the quarantine tournament. We'll be having our Masters Plus replays as well. But before all of that, we're just going to give a quick little shout out again to our sponsors, Pure PC as well as Block 101. Thank you to them for supporting the quarantine tournament. And this, of course, presented to you by DL Smizzle, Daks PH, as well as Ice High Production. So we will be right back. Stay tuned, guys, and stick around. This is the quarantine tournament number 5, round 2 broadcast.